And before we get into the video, guys, make sure to go check out our giveaway we are doing for our PlayStation Source E3 2019 streams covering E3 2019. We'll be giving away $20 per conference you see on screen here. All you gotta do is be subscribed to the channel, be active in the chat on one of the streams, and make sure to follow us on Discord and Twitter to be able to be entered in to win one of the $20 PSN cards during E3 2019. Good luck. What is going on, guys? It is your boy TKD123 here, back again with another video, and we are back here with the seminal
Starks.
Obviously, with the Starks here, my boy, the Starks here, out of nowhere. How you doing? How you doing? We are back here. Well. Road to Part 2, supposed to be a weekly series, but last week, funny story. The file that we recorded got corrupted, so I'm not gonna say the topic that we talked about last week that will not see the light of day because of technical issues, but we will be re-recording that episode and doing it at a later date. It involves one of, if not the main character of the entire Last of Us series. I'm sure you can put two and two together, but we will do that episode at a later date. What is going on? This is Kevin from the editing desk, and just to preface here, okay, now this series is also about me learning how to be better at factions multiplayer. So if you see gameplay that's not as great on the screen, keep in mind that I am still learning and evolving and growing as a Last of Us factions multiplayer player. So please do not slander me that much in the comments. I accept slander, but just know that this is the process of me learning how to play factions and not in Uncharted, in a Last of Us factions mode. So on to the video now. Absolutely. So we've had a very anxiety-filled past few days and weeks with The Last of Us Part 2. Ain't that right, Starks? Like, it's been a lot of
yeah, totally.
It's been very wishy-washy. We heard rumors beginning of last week that there was going to be a trailer releasing later on that week on Thursday.
And that didn't happen, unfortunately.
And so we were like, all right, let's just record this episode we had in mind, and then we'll do a bonus one for a watch-along reaction to that trailer. And then we got Death Stranding instead, which is cool. But an interesting thing to note about that whole thing was that with the Death Stranding, we got the, of course, confirmation that it is coming out in November 2019. Now, obviously, this is not Road to Death Stranding, Road to The Last of Us Part 2. But why that's so integral to The Last of Us Part 2 is that I think it further solidifies the fact that Last of Us Part 2 is indeed a 2020 game. Well, how do you feel about that, Starks? Like, how do you...
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I felt personally attacked, like someone was insulting me. No, I'm being serious, because, and let me explain. I've been speculating on my channel. Like, I made like 2 videos just talking about The Last of Us Part 2 coming out, the potential release date for 2019, and the fact that we're probably not going to get it in this year kind of breaks my heart a bit. I mean, I guess it's good that Naughty Dog is allowed the time to really polish and finish the game as well as the multiplayer, or the campaign and multiplayer, and hopefully even make some I don't know if there's going to be DLC, but maybe finish that up. So I'm glad, because it allows Naughty Dog to really polish the the entire game. But with that said, there was rumors that it was in fact supposed to come out this year, and it seemed like it was a last minute push, I guess. And so it's sad.
So that whole detail is rebutted by Jason Schreier, of course, a writer at Kotaku. He's a pretty well-renowned writer at Kotaku and stuff like that. Really does break a lot of stories for the industry. But it was said through him that, okay, so he said, quote, on Twitter, "Looks like Death Stranding is about to get announced for a November release. The Last of Us 2 was also planned for fall 2019, but I actually just heard it got bumped to early 2020, possibly February. Either way, wild final year for PS4. So, I mean, based off that tweet, obviously, right? I feel like Sony would not put out 2 very exclusive AAA PlayStation games around the same time, a la November 2019. You know what I'm saying? Or even like fall 2019 in general. Like I feel like they wouldn't do that, even though there are examples of them doing that. Like I believe God of War was April of 2018, and then in May they put out Detroit Become Human. You know what I'm saying? So those.
Oh shoot!
Obviously,
that came out that year?
Wow. Yeah, they came out back to back. So obviously, one can make the argument that Detroit Become Human wasn't that big of a AAA exclusive for PlayStation, and it wasn't really that big of a name, as opposed to, of course, God of War being God of War. So I feel like the gap is a little bit closer, and it's a little bit of a different scenario when you have Death Stranding and Last of Us Part 2 potentially releasing in the same time. Like I feel like they wouldn't do that because out of Detroit and God of War, clearly God of War was a lot bigger than Detroit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, so
way
like
bigger following. Yeah.
So you don't really have two titans fighting against each other. You have a much bigger game and then a much smaller game. And obviously to think about as well is that God of War and Detroit Become Human, two very different games. One obviously a third person action adventure game. The other one is a narrative-driven, very Telltale-esque type of game and stuff like that. You're making decisions, and there's not really like a core, like consistent gameplay. It's more of just you making choices and stuff like that, and being narratively kind of like Don't Nod's Life is Strange, etc. And with Death Stranding and Last of Us Part 2, they're both third-person games. Obviously there are clear differences, but there's more similarities to those two games than God of War and Detroit Become Human. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I feel like it's very unlikely at this point that Last of Us Part 2 does come out in 2019, And like
right, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, based off the first episode of the series, you know what I'm saying? I think I could say Kevin was right. TKD was right. You feel me?
But because you said it was a 2020, right?
Yeah, and like no, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir. My bad.
No, it's all right. Yeah, like I'm trying to figure out like when. I don't think February is a very cool date for it. I hope it doesn't come out on February, to be honest.
I think February, but
I don't know. February is kind of weird for a post-apocalyptic game. Yeah, I don't know. I know that seems weird to say, but I think it's weird that or to release it.
And I think, no, go ahead.
I think a spring is more likely, like maybe March, because where I live, March, like the last or second last week of March marks spring because we have 4 seasons here in Canada, or at least the part I live in. And so it could be March or April, which would be totally fine. But I don't know. February is just bizarre. February is like a dry, cold, boring month here where I live, dude. Like it's, right. So, but I mean, I guess it could fill up. This game could fill that, but I mean, I hope not February. I hope like March or April.
Because I'm trying to think. So, I'm pretty certain that Horizon Zero Dawn came out February 20th. I believe, right?
I think it was the 22nd of February.
22nd? Okay, yeah. Something like that. I think that's when the Horizon drops. I'm trying to think of like other games that dropped in February that were PlayStation related. I'm trying to think because I know.
Sorry, February 28th.
Uncharted
2017.
Uncharted 4 was May, I think.
May 10th, yeah.
May 10th
of 2016.
God of War obviously April 20th. So they tend to skew towards like the April to May area for like their first heavy hitting game of like their year cycle. So I could very well see a April or May date for part 2. But I don't know why February seems right for this game. I'm not sure, but like, man, so? Like, I don't know.
Because even Bloodborne came out in March, eh?
I think so. I think it did.
Yeah, it did.
I think it did. But what I think it's so like heartbreaking about this whole thing was like how perfect the release of Outbreak Day would have been for part 2. Like, gosh.
Oh man, that would have been so like.
You really hate to see it.
Perfect than that.
That would have been perfect.
That would have been cool.
And like obviously, consistently speaking here, I would totally take part 2 over Death Stranding. Like, let's just be honest.
Oh yeah, me too.
100. Now, obviously, Death Stranding is a new IP, and Last of Us Part 2 is a sequel to a game that was critically acclaimed and everything. So, obviously, there's more people I think yearning for Part 2, and especially based off of how critically acclaimed, the original Last of Us was when it first came out and everything, and even with the remaster for PS4. So
Mhm.
it's clear that like a lot of people are definitely more anxious to hear about part two and want part two in general. But Death Stranding looks cool, you know. I think it
Yeah,
looks
I'm
cool.
actually pretty shocked by it, to be honest, because I wouldn't say it was like the most anticipated game of mine, but it's definitely up there. And from what we've seen of it, I know this is a road to the Last of Us Part Two, but for the sake of the video, and for the sake of Death Stranding pushing The Last of Us to till 2020, I think it's appropriate to talk about it. To my surprise, it does look pretty cool. And so I'm excited to see what the game's all about and what it can offer.
And what's interesting here is that like even like what Jason says is that he says not even essentially is it just like verbatim that Last of Us Part Two was planned for fall
Yeah,
2019, which to me like completely just like dude how like how you know what I'm saying like I would love to see how they were gonna pull that off like not that I don't want it again not that I don't want it like obviously I want Last of Us Part Two over any other game currently at this point but it would have been super interesting to see them pull it off and make it to 2019. But obviously here we have that it got pushed into 2020, and so I guess the biggest question here is if they pushed it because of Death Stranding, you know.
yeah, I definitely think Death Stranding had a significant influence to the push for a 2020 launch for The Last of Us Part Two, which is sad because and initially I was really sad about it. Like I was posting on Twitter, like how could a game that we know nothing about push my baby, The Last of Us Part Two, to 2020? You know
Push
what I mean?
push
I
my
was
baby
out.
girl, you know what I'm saying?
So I was, but I'm not mad. Of course, I think whatever Death Stranding offers is going to be cool to some degree. And like I said, I think it looks like an interesting game. I love the music, which is it's just really compelling, and it seems like it's going to be a good story. But sadly, that definitely had an influence on the push for 2020. However, there's news that we might be getting The Last of Us Part Two shown for June. So I guess we'll have to
Yeah.
wait and see.
So, John, but believe it or not, there's another rumor that broke the day of this recording, which is Tuesday, June 4th. This is supposed to go live Wednesday, June 5th, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, in the midst of the E3 rumors, there's a rumor going around that there is a state of play that is aimed for June, and that will show off Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. Now, this let's call it this rogue, state of play that we know nothing about. We don't know when it's happening, right?
Right.
I want to ask you something here, right? So
Go ahead.
obviously, E3 2019 is a very different E3 because I believe it may be one of, if not the first E3 that Sony is not at, right? Been a very very big thing, and we've been talking about it, and some people worrying about it. Me just being just generally just curious. Since they announced it back in November, I believe, or December of 2018, towards the end of the year, maybe it was October. I don't even know, but it was around the end half of the year of last year when they said, "Hey, we're not gonna be at E3. It's not in our plans, right?" So
Right.
I guess what I've always said was that I don't see a PlayStation that has these heavy hitting games like Death Stranding, like Ghost of Tsushima, like Last of Us Part 2 in their pocket around E3 time and not show anything of them and be quiet.
I absolutely agree with you. I would be dumb. I would be completely confused. CC is the term for that. Completely confused. I would also kind of be not obviously disappointed based off of my hype for these three games, specifically The Last of Us, though. As well as I just don't think that would be a very strategically powerful move for them to do. I do think what they're going to do, however, is wait a little afterwards. Unfortunately, just to see how everyone else does, like Microsoft's, Xbox conference, because they can have some pretty heavy news and hitters there, based off of their new console, which I'm positive they're going to show. And they have to compete with their main competitor, Xbox, somehow, right? And so I think a state of play would be interesting. It's just the only thing about that state of play is whatever Microsoft shows has to be powerful, and I think it's going to be powerful for a lot of the fans. I think a lot of people are going to appreciate what they show, but I don't think PlayStation's The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, whatever else, as well as Death Stranding, which we've already seen technically, so I doubt they'll show that. But they could. I don't think those are 3 games that are that could be such heavy hitters that Xbox's conference and other conferences will be kind of just shoved under the rug, because I think what I'm trying to say is I think a PlayStation would have to show some kind of spec showcase as well.
Right. I mean, here's the thing, right? So, as you know, this week it was yesterday, on Monday, June 3rd, right? Google came out and said, "Listen, we're doing a Stadia conference on Thursday. This is what we're doing."
Thursday?
Yeah. There's a Google Stadia conference happening on Thursday. I don't know if I'm gonna stream it, but I will definitely watch it.
Alrighty.
I might stream it. I'll let you know. We'll talk after the recording. But you know what I'm saying?
No problem.
Like, they were able to say, "Hey, we're announcing that." They aren't a part of E3, right? In a similar vein, EA is the same way. Where EA Play is not a part of E3, but we consider it a part of E3 because it's right near E3, right?
Right.
So what if? Because I believe when PlayStation announced the first State of Play, it was only a few days from when it actually happened. It wasn't that far off.
Yeah. It was like 2 days.
2 or 3
prior.
days.
I'm
Something like
pretty
that.
sure.
Yeah. So, man, I'm thinking like, man, what if they announce their State of Play while Microsoft is going, or while Extend the Third is going, or while Bethesda's conference or Ubisoft's conference? You know what I'm saying? And they have a State of Play maybe towards the end, of the E3 stuff, where it's almost like they were at E3.
Yeah, maybe like the 12th of
yeah,
June?
maybe right after Nintendo, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that
would be smart of them to do, first of all.
Yeah. Now,
just to add,
if I was in a dream world, right? If I was just like everything was to my own accord, right? I would absolutely love, right? 2 hours before Xbox's conference, State of Play right in the middle of Microsoft's conference, right?
Oh man,
bro, and legit, the only thing they would show is Last of Us Part 2. Just blow it out. Give me like a 15-minute gameplay segment again, and give me a release date.
Oh, dude, that would definitely be a shock.
You would literally be able to see analytics live, right? Live analytics of the E3, stream of Microsoft, right? They're doing their thing. They're showing the new consoles. They're showing some games, whatever. And you would visually see the drop in viewership going to watch State of Play.
Dude, if they do that, that is so mean.
That would be insane.
You're absolutely right.
That would be insane.
Because a lot of people are expecting this game. They're hyped for it.
Here's what I'll say, right? Here's what I'll say. Now, obviously, it has been out for 2 days now, but if you guys aren't aware, I am doing I said it in the beginning of this video as well, but I have the E3 2019 schedule for PlayStation Source. We are covering E3 2019. We'll be doing a bunch of streams and everything, and in that process of making those assets and stuff like that, I made overlays for each conference, right? Because of this State of Play rumor, I am making a PlayStation layout just in case of an event that we have to switch to an impromptu State of Play to debut Last of Us Part 2, right? But I guess we got off the tangent here about just talking about the State of Play rumor. But I guess, I'm trying to think of what because I do have a lot of questions for someone that was really lenient and then really kind of leaning towards the way of the Last of Us Part 2 being a 2019 game. But let me just ask you
I
this.
still kind of am.
Because, okay, that's when, because I asked Christian this. I'm like, Christian is like you, where he is definitely on the side of part 2 being 2019, right? So I
Right.
guess from your point of view, seeing what we've seen, knowing that Death Stranding is coming out in November 2019, right? Like, what is the chances? Like, what are the chances that Last of Us Part 2 ends up being a 2019 game at this reported state of play? Like, what are the odds in your point of view?
Do you want me to say in terms of percentages, or just based off of what I think might end up happening?
However,
Because
however you want
I
to say it.
think I know it's definitely not 50-50 based off of what Jason said. I think I kind of put that as a higher value than my own speculation and opinions and what we've been told and speculated. So
Right.
I want to say 80, or I guess, yeah, 80 to 20, in terms of 80 being 2020 and the rest of the 20 being 19. I know that's kind of a weird way to say it, but basically more chances that it's a 2020 game. However, I will say I'm still, if The Last of Us Part 2 does end up being a 2019 game, I solid it's going to be in September. Solid. They had Spider-Man come out, I guess it would be like a year after Spider-Man. And I know to a lot of people that doesn't seem like a lot of breathing time for these two games, but it's possible. We've established, we know that PlayStation has done that before, where they've released a big game and the prior month they've done the same. So yeah, that's my bet.
I,
How about you?
I mean, actually, if we're cutting hairs here, technically they just released 2 first-party games back to back, and even closer
Yeah,
back
that's
to back,
true.
literally like days of each other, being Days Gone and the early access of Dreams. Obviously, the early access of Dreams is a little bit different than a
Right.
Days Gone or a Horizon or a Spider-Man, etc. But to each his own. They are still third. I mean, not third, but first-party titles that they've
Mhm.
released really close to each other, right? And what's another thing also to know, I guess, to play devil's advocate and to play with the notion of still 2019 being the date, right? Even though Jason says 2020, but and like that obviously means a lot. But I mean, if you look at the development schedule, right, for Death Stranding, right, it is looking like the game is going to be a lot smaller than what we think it is. I feel like because that Kojima was able to essentially leave Konami and finish development of Metal Gear Solid 5 in 2015 and really get the ball rolling on development in 2016 and be able to have his game out in 2019, like build a
Yeah,
whole studio, build a whole engine, do everything done by 2019.
that's
it's
true.
it's making me and Christian at least think that the game is not as big
As
as
people
are
think, yeah.
exactly as people are perceiving it to be, right? Which is not a bad thing at all. It's just that like the length of the game, like it might be a 15-hour game, 15, 18-hour game. It might not be this 27-hour, 34-hour game, that you might typically see. Or like for example, God of War, I think if you're playing it normal, at least for my playthrough was like 21 hours, 22 hours, something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, around so.
And
I'm one of those people who don't play their games as I guess obsessively
right.
when it comes to new titles. Like God of War took me a month. Same goes with Red Dead. Actually, I think Red Dead took me 2 months. I don't like playing like addictively, especially since I had school. But
Yeah.
for games like Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, I mean, it was August. I didn't have school, so I played the game in one sitting.
Same with me.
Actually, I didn't,
Yeah.
because I was sick. I had to get off because I was like, dude, I have a headache and I need to
Yeah.
sleep. I need to get better. But then that following day, I beat it within 2 hours. So
Lost Legacy I also played in a little bit, but also
I
the thing
love
too.
Lost Legacy,
Oh
dude.
yeah, I know,
It's
great,
great.
great game. But like when you think of the original Last of Us, right?
Hmm.
The Last of Us story, based off of how obviously Last of Us Part 2 is gonna be vastly different. I'm thinking like I think there's gonna be a lot more open areas. What they were,
Yeah,
and
same.
that's a whole different episode that we talked about. But
Oh,
like, I feel
yeah.
like
True,
Part 2
true.
is gonna be a little bit longer. You know what I'm saying? But
Totally.
you gotta think maybe if they are banking on Death Stranding being a very ancillary experience. Like, this is what it is. It's short and sweet. Short, not in a bad way, but just short in general. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're almost okay with part 2 dropping in September and
Oh,
Death
I see what
Stranding
you're
dropping in
saying.
November because,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
hey,
yeah, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And
That's
plus,
good. Whoa.
also a big thing to think about here is that Death Stranding is developed by Kojima. People love Kojima. People love Naughty Dog. There is no
Mm-hmm.
way, if you are a fan of either of those two, you are not getting those games. Like,
That's
they
true.
they know for a fact Last of Us Part 2 is going to sell no matter when they put it out, no matter what it's next to. People want to evacuate the premises when Last of Us Part 2 is in the room. You know what I'm saying?
That's true,
and
dude.
and not because of a development studio, but it's even to the same, probably not same caliber as Naughty Dog, but same. Honestly, maybe more, maybe because I'm not the biggest Kojima fan. Maybe I have a different perspective, but maybe the name Kojima has a lot more weight than the name of Naughty Dog. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. That's a good point.
maybe that these two games are probably so big that maybe they just don't care. They're like, yeah, like, we can drop them within 2 months of each other, and we
Dude, that'd be
know
awesome.
that the Naughty Dog stands are gonna grab Last of Us Part 2, and the Kojima stands are gonna buy Death Stranding.
Right.
Maybe.
That's a good theory. So I appreciate that, because then I suppose you're kind of supporting the 2019 side, because from my understanding you're keen for a 2020 release. Am I right? Or
I mean,
or it's more up in the air than none, is what you're trying to say, right?
okay. So I guess what I'm saying is, okay. So realistically, right? Realistically, like, if you were to ask me, like, gun point to my head, all right, when is part 2 coming out? I would say 2020, because I'm thinking to how they traditionally release their first party games, where they have a heavy hitter in the beginning of the year and a heavy hitter at the end of the year, and they let them breathe. God, like, last year's the perfect example. God of War and Spider-Man. You
Right.
know, we were
Totally.
we were talking about both games consistently in those 2 seasons, and they didn't step on each other's toes. Not that they would have if they were, So I feel like they're gonna want to stick to that formula, and based off how they already have, like, the pre-order stuff in for in the PlayStation Store for Death Stranding, and they
Mm-hmm.
seem to already have a marketing campaign getting rolling already. It feels like they are treating Death Stranding, not that they wouldn't have in the past, but like they are treating Death Stranding like, all right, this is our Spider-Man of 2019. Like, this is our second half of the year game. You know what I'm saying? Like we are going to
That's
dump.
true.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, to me, just optically, it looks like they already poised Death Stranding to be that, game for 2019, to be the Spider-Man PS4 of 2018 for 2019. You feel me? So that's why
Yeah,
I'm
I do.
still, like, if I think about it realistically, I'm still on the side of, like, all right, part 2 is probably 2020. But I can't lie to you, with the state of play rumors and stuff like that and everything going on, and how it was really rumored that they were going to release a trailer that week and that Stranding was instead. Like, it's very odd. It seems like
I
I
think
don't know.
we. Sorry, go on. You finish your point, and then
It
I'll
just
add.
it just almost seems like PlayStation wasn't, or at least, like, the marketing divisions weren't expecting these two games to be done around the same time as each other.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Oh, that's a good point.
especially with this news that it's being pushed internally. Because if we're gonna take anything with a grain of salt, with Raising Kratos, the God of War documentary, they
Which is
knew
great.
that the game was getting pushed back in January of that
Right.
year, and it was slated for, I believe, March, and then they got
And then it
pushed
was
to April.
delayed, or
So
right.
they know a few months before if they're gonna hit that date. So it just seems very.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, totally. What I was gonna say is that um hold up, I kind of forgot what I was gonna say. But I was basically gonna say exactly what you were talking about. How it was definitely like a last minute thing, where I think definitely that The Last of Us Part 2 was supposed to be shown some kind of trailer for it. And then last minute, Kojima or Hideo, sorry, mentioned or there was word that, hey, we're finished or we're almost done this game. I'm pretty sure he's probably around completed the game now because it's set to release this November and there's already pre-orders for the game. And we have a trailer to show, cool stuff ahead. Here we go. Oh shit. Pardon my French. The Last of Us Part 2 is, we were supposed to show something for that as well. November? Okay. Hey, let's internally delay, push back this game for 2020. However, I definitely think that your concept of having The Last of Us Part 2 come out in September and then November for Death Stranding, based off of two vastly different games, fans both adore both of these studios and people, and these games essentially. So I think in terms of that, I guess, philosophy or that way of thinking, that could definitely 100% end up working and being the case, which would be amazing and would go against all of my expectations, because my expectation now is a 2020, unfortunately, release date for The Last of Us Part 2.
Well, I mean, now, like, with that thought, with that thought in mind, does what has happened make sense? For them to come out, show Death Stranding, and slate it for a November release, they announced it in May, then to announce Part 2 in June and have that release in September, doesn't that seem off? Like, wouldn't you want to talk about Part 2 first to drop in September, and then talk about Death Stranding in June to release in November? Or are they trying to make some incredible amount of hype where I might faint, honestly, if they say September? I'm really gonna be out here on a stretcher, halfway through the trailer that they're showing. I will need a defibrillator of some sort. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, that's totally true.
It's very interesting, man. It's very interesting. Very interesting time.
Well, like, and I'm trying to think, because I know The Last of Us Part 2, I'm pretty sure it came out June 14. So maybe they show a trailer then, but it said it's supposed to be shown for the state of play. Was it supposed to be this week or next week? Because next week could totally work, man.
From the first rumor or the second rumor?
Both.
Okay, so the first rumor, it was supposed to be that week. This rumor that we have right now is that they have a state of play reportedly returning in June, with Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima being shown.
Okay, so my bet, I'm gonna be straight up honest with you, it's either gonna be the day after Nintendo, actually just one of the 3 days after Nintendo, either Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. And I think Friday would be cool because I'm pretty confident that The Last of Us, the first game, came out June 4th. Wait, maybe I'm wrong. I need to check this. I'm pretty sure, though, it came out. 14 is my favorite number, so I'm pretty sure it came out that day.
You know what? Let me read the article.
It did. June 14. So it could be the 3-year.
Part 1.
Their 3-year. Sorry, not 3. 6 year. Jeez, it came out. Oh my gosh, 6-year anniversary. Oh yeah, wow. I think they'll show a trailer on the 6-year anniversary.
So I will link this article in the description. This is the article that we keep bringing up about the state of play rumor. They say here, quote, Sony won't be coming at E3 2019, but is doing all the things it can in order to steal the show, or at least a bit of attention from Microsoft and Nintendo being there. Last week it revealed brand new gameplay and the release date of Death Stranding, and it seems it's coming up with even more soon. As shared by Walmart Canada editor-in-chief. So this is from the Walmart Canada editor-in-chief.
I love you, Walmart Canada.
Who, they are always leaking shit. God. Sorry. Rage 2 always leaking things, but the Walmart Canada editor-in-chief, who goes by the name The Hunter on Twitter, says there's a brand new state of play coming this June with updates on The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. A state of play was rumored to be airing last week, but Sony ultimately didn't announce anything on that side. By the way, from the looks of it, there's a chance it was only delayed last minute in order to leave enough room for Death Stranding news.
Yeah,
The Hunter had shared. So what we could be seeing here is that maybe they were planning to do a really big Death Stranding, right? And maybe Kojima, they were like, yo, Kojima was good. Give me the assets. We're going to put it into the state of play. We're going to roll it tomorrow, whatever. Probably not tomorrow, but, a few days out. They were getting assets from everyone, right? So maybe, right, the state of play was supposed to happen last week, right? But because Death Stranding had so much to show and they had like a 10-minute trailer, right?
Right.
Maybe they're like, all right, let's just do Death Stranding, and then we'll do the rest of the state of play later.
That's smart, because obviously with State of Play, I guess from based off of the previous shows, we've only had two, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Both of which I think were under both together. Total minutes were, I want to say, under 38 minutes. Like
Oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
like I think the first one was like 20 to 30.
Oh
No, was it?
no, the first
It
one was
was
like
20 minutes.
I
Was it
would I want to
15?
say 12 to 15 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, 15, and then the second one was like disappointingly 10 minutes, I believe, or
Yeah.
12. Regardless, less than 30, less than 30 minutes. Um, so based off of the Death Stranding stuff, which was like you said, eight, I think 8 minutes total because I watched it today with my friends, which loved it by the way. And it's cool. The trailer was cool. 8 minutes, and then you have to show The Last of Us, and then an update on Ghost of Tsushima, and then it's just too, it's gonna be too long. I think that might have been the case, but my thing is like I don't understand, like what is the, like maybe it's not the, maybe the length isn't the issue, but like then what is, because they could have easily done a State of Play episode with showing all these different games, you know what I mean?
That's my thought. I'm like, why? So like, if I'm right and it was removed, and honestly, I don't even know if we'll ever know if we're right or wrong on this whole point. But why are
Right.
they so afraid to release a long state of play if that is the case? Because we see Nintendo Directs, they have their big ones around E3 that are like 30, 40 minutes, that are like 30 and 40 minutes long. And they
Exactly.
and they and they have their regular ones throughout the rest of the months that are maybe 10, 15 minutes that we usually see with state of play as of right now. Like I don't understand like why wouldn't they just blow out and have like a 25-minute state of play and show us all the stuff?
Yeah, and it's even, I guess, pleasing the fans. Like, and I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. With the second State of Play, I just wasn't a huge fan of it
Right.
because it was cool. People liked it. That's cool. That's their opinion. But I think that just dedicating a State of Play episode around June for E3 time would be a smart idea to do after all these different conferences, and have it the length be, I don't know, 20 to 40 minutes. I mean, maybe 40 is way too long unless they're going to show specs for the next console. But, 20 minutes is decent, 20 to 30 minutes, like you said, and really showcase some of their exclusive games and updates to others, and maybe indie games and VR games, although I don't want that to be the focus. I want The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima to be the focus, which would be because they're bigger games than indie. So, see what I mean? Like, they wouldn't, I don't think they would put The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima with an indie game and VR games. No, that just wouldn't make any sense. Those games would not get the traction they need to really, or maybe they, I mean, I guess they could, but I mean, I doubt, like,
I feel you.
I don't know,
Yeah,
I
I feel
don't
you.
think that
Me,
would work well
I definitely
for me.
like how the first day of play was definitely like a VR focused episode. Like if
Yeah,
you
totally.
are a PSVR person, you loved it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I totally get it. But
And that's good for those who like it. I know PlayStation really wants to push their VR content, and it's good that they're doing that. Absolutely. I don't have a VR. I don't think I'm going to get a VR unless it's introduced to PlayStation 5 somehow, which I think they're going to do.
yeah, they
But
are.
I have classes. I have to deal with that. It's not for me, but
Right.
it's cool, and a lot of people like it, and so that focus was really cool. And then for the second one, it was a little bit more just new announcements. We got that Predator game, we got that other jungle looking jump simulator game, this other indie game. Anyhow, but point is, like, I think for this next rumored State of Play is going to be the banger, and it has to be. And essentially what I'm trying to say is, I don't think they're going to show anything but Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2, and maybe something else,
Right.
but probably not indie or VR, because they've already kind of done VR. As I mean, they could show more, but what I'm trying to say is, I feel like those two games alone are gonna flood our, the buzz for these other indie and VR games that might be shown. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
that's my thought process. Do
Last of
you
Us.
agree?
The Last of Us Part 2. I don't know. There's just so much to think about.
I
There's so much,
know.
especially
There
when the
is.
date. Like, all right, so I guess this series started out in a very weird spot where we're amidst a incoming trailer. We are amidst Death Stranding.
That was last week, man.
Yeah, we are amidst a new state of play rumor that will show Last of Us Part 2. We haven't heard from it officially in almost a year coming up. Literally. Actually, literally, it's about to be a year where we haven't seen.
So we're gonna see something.
New.
Oh, dude, I'm excited.
I don't know. Listen, when we see it, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to stay tuned on the channel because you definitely know if there is a trailer that is dropped. Me and Starks here have made a blood pact truth that if there's a trailer, we will not watch it till we're here recording and we're live to get our full reactions because that'll be fun. So we will definitely do that. But in terms of a road to part 2 next week, we will let you guys know via Twitter because I believe E3 might be too packed to do something. Or my hope is that we get a part 2 trailer next week or something like that during E3. We'll see, boys. But
I call the 14th.
Call the 14th.
Prediction. Oh yeah,
I
Friday,
like
14th.
I like it.
6-year anniversary.
I like
Anyhow.
it. I like it. But in conclusion, Starks, where can people find you?
You can kindly find me on YouTube at youtube.com/thestarks, which I'm sure will be linked in the description below, as well as Twitter if you wish to follow me on there. I post all sorts of different things and updates. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you can find me here on Twitter at the KDS123 as well as PS4's vids. And make sure to keep it locked here on the channel as we are streaming all this weekend for E3. Make sure to keep it locked here, and you can be entered in for a giveaway. One $20 PSN card will be given out through the entire streams of E3 2019. All you gotta do is be in the chat, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, follow the Discord, and do those 4 steps, and you'll be entered in to the PlayStation Source E3 2019 giveaway. So make sure to keep it locked here on PlayStation Source for all your E3 news and all that good stuff, even though PlayStation ain't there.
Oh my god, boys! I just ran all the way back here from the studio.
Uh-huh.
I have direct confirmation. Half-Life 3 will be making an appearance at E3 2019.
A PlayStation Source exclusive, ladies and gentlemen. That was your boy at To Real Deathly Hollows. Shout out to him. But nonetheless, if you all enjoyed, make sure you like on the video as well as stay subscribed to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in the PlayStation. Down below you can find our different links where you can find our Discord, our Twitter, all links everywhere else on there. And make sure to also subscribe to the channel to keep it locked here for all your E3 2018 news and stuff like that. So thank you for watching, and as always,
greatness awaits.